Hello, I'm David Holtz, and I'm a Coalition Coordinator for Oil and Water Don't Mix. And we're standing here right next to Mackinac State Park at the Trinity Episcopal Church on this beautiful island with the Straits of Mackinac behind us. Up the road, the Governor of Michigan, Governor Whitmer, is giving what will probably be her last speech to the Mackinac Policy Conference while she's governor. And so we're all here to really share a message about the straits that are behind us, the Great Lakes that are so much of our culture and our life and our economy in Michigan. And we have some great, excellent speakers who are going to talk to us about just what kind of Great Lakes we risk leaving behind if a decision by the Whitmer administration is the wrong one, and how much better it can be if it's the right one. We're going to hear from Pat Egan, who's a longtime Upper Peninsula resident and former publisher of the Cheboygan Daily Tribune and Sault Ste. Marie Evening News. Then we're going to hear from Mike Foley, who's a geologist and chair of the Northern Michigan Environmental Council. And then Juliette McAvoy, who's King Orchard's Vice President for Sales and Marketing in Northern Michigan and Central Lake, and with the Great Lakes Business Network. And then Beth, Wallace, who's the Great Lakes Climate and Energy Director for the National Wildlife Federation. After our speakers have made brief remarks, then we'll be open to taking any of your questions. Pat?
So, greetings. Pat Egan. I'm a resident, and as David mentioned, I'm a former publisher of the Evening News in the Sioux and the Cheboygan Daily Tribune. So my life here was observing. Every day, my task, my job, was to watch what happened around here, life around the Straits. You can see the Straits behind me. It's such a beautiful, iconic place. For centuries, the tribes were the stewards of the Straits. This was famously the birthplace of civilization for them, and they did a great job. The surface looks great today. It usually does. It's busy. Workboats, freighters, beautiful summer boats. We get to see a lot of waterfowl here. What's worrying me is that we have been told that it's a stressed place below the surface. We have invasive mussels. We have a fish biosphere that is stressed. And the Sioux tribe and the Bay Mills tribe have told us that the iconic whitefish that live and breed in the Straits may face eventual disappearing. On top of this, as this is going on, we now find that we're in the middle of a proposed industrial project, a significant industrial project. And I just want to emphasize that this industrial project, which you are going to hear in some detail from some really knowledgeable people in a minute, comes on top of and is added to the situation that we already have in the Straits. So as we go forward and we think about where we're going to be in the near future, and as David mentioned, the governor is yards away, we hope that she understands and realizes her responsibility and her legacy going forward. So you're going to learn some things today, and I'm going to hand it off to Mike Foley, and he'll explain the situation better than I can.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Foley. I'm a geologist and the chair of the Northern Michigan Environmental Action Council. I do live in Northern Michigan, and my family has a cottage on Bois Blanc Island, which you can see just behind us over here. I'm speaking today not only as someone who studies the ground beneath our feet, but as someone who lives here and understands what the Straits of Mackinac mean to our communities and our local economy, our water, and our way of life. The question before Governor Whitmer and the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy is straightforward. Should Michigan approve Enbridge's permit applications for a new oil tunnel beneath the Straits of Mackinac? And our answer is simple: no. Enbridge wants the public to believe this tunnel is a safety solution. But the documents, decades of history, and broken promises from Enbridge tell a different story. This would be a nearly 4-mile industrial tunnel beneath one of the most important freshwater systems on Earth, through rock that the company's own materials describe as weak, fractured, unstable, and in places already collapsed. As a geologist, that matters. This is not just digging a hole through solid bedrock. The geotechnical record points to weak rock, fractures, groundwater, gas pockets, possible loose sediment from an ancient riverbed, squeezing clays that can clog systems, abrasive rock material that can wear down equipment, and methane that can seep into the tunnel. This is not a routine construction project by any means. This is a gamble with the Great Lakes. What concerns me most is not any one of these risks by itself, but it is how these risks can interact with each other. The weak rock can collapse, water can rush in, equipment can fail faster than expected, clay can clog the boring machine, and methane, which becomes explosive at very low concentrations in air, can accumulate in a confined space. In a tunnel under pressure, with limited ventilation and a possible continuing source of methane, this is not simply an engineering challenge, it is a standing risk. And the people of Michigan should not be asked to accept, "We'll manage it later if it comes up," as an answer. Some risks cannot be conditioned away, some risks are inherent to the project itself. This is also not just a tunnel under the lake. It is a massive industrial construction project being imposed on northern Michigan. The Army Corps Draft Environmental Impact Statement describes impacts to kayaking, paddling, fishing, hiking, cultural and spiritual practices, fish habitat, wildlife, wetlands, and water quality. It describes noise from blasting, artificial lighting, massive construction equipment, and restricted access. And it identifies impacts to places people in this area know and love, like the Highlands International Dark Sky Park, McGulpin Lighthouse, Heritage Village, Colonial Mackinac, Castle Rock, and even destroying views here in Mackinac on the island itself. Excuse me a moment while I... Northern Michigan runs and thrives on clean water, quiet places, small businesses, tourism, outdoor recreation, and the natural beauty people come here to experience. We should not turn the Straits into a 6-year construction zone for Enbridge when they simply cannot guarantee the safety of the Great Lakes. The traffic impacts alone should give the state officials pause. The record identifies up to 162 daily round-trip truck trips on the north side of the Straits and 120 daily truck round trips on the south side during the construction phase. The preparation period alone would require more than 1,100 truckloads of material being transported on our roads. This means more congestion, more road damage, more delays, more safety risks for residents, workers, businesses, and visitors. And it would happen in the very region and during the very season when northern Michigan communities depend on smooth travel and access. This is not a temporary inconvenience. It is years of disruption to our communities. The water, wildlife risks are just as serious. The record identifies possible impact to migratory birds, lake trout, lake whitefish spawning grounds, wetlands, our groundwater, and the straits themselves. Drilling fluids could be released into the straits or penetrate into the groundwater. Heavy equipment, barges, lubricants, fuel, coolants, all sorts of construction materials, all of these add risk before the tunnel is able to carry even a single drop of oil. So when Enbridge says the tunnel is about safety, we have to ask, safety for whom? For northern Michigan, this project creates new risks and exacerbates the existing ones before it solves anything. And it does not solve the issue of Line 5. It does not fix the other 641 miles of this pipeline that has had a long spill history. It does not lower gas prices. It does not make Michigan energy independent or energy secure. It locks Michigan into more fossil fuel infrastructure that does nothing to lower energy costs for average Michiganders. It adds more environmental and economic risk and furthers our dependence on volatile oil systems at the expense of the Great Lakes and our communities. A 1950 pipeline is not a 21st century energy solution. Governor Whitmer and EGLE have a choice. They can accept Enbridge's argument that every risk can be managed, mitigated, or explained away, or they can recognize what the record shows. This project creates unacceptable risks to the Great Lakes, to northern Michigan communities and its workers, to wildlife, to local businesses, and to the Straits of Mackinac. On behalf of the Northern Michigan Environmental Action Council, I urge Governor Whitmer and EGLE to reject Enbridge's Line 5 tunnel permit applications. Michigan does not need a risky oil tunnel under the Great Lakes. We need Line 5 out of the Straits, not buried deeper beneath them. Governor Whitmer, please protect the Great Lakes, protect Northern Michigan, and reject Enbridge's permit application. Thank you. I'll hand over to Juliette from King Orchard.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Juliette McAvoy, and I'm from King Orchards. We are cherry farmers and grow a lot of other fruits and vegetables in Northwest Michigan. We, like so many businesses in the region, rely on a healthy and clean Great Lakes and environment and a vibrant freshwater economy. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a lobbyist, I'm a second-generation farmer, and I'm here today because I've read in Enbridge's own geological report that they do not find that it is a excuse me. I'm here today because what I've read in Enbridge's own geological report is truly frightening. What has been revealed by Enbridge shows a project that is not yet proven feasible and one that will cause incredible harm to the Great Lakes and nearby communities and businesses. Why? Because when Enbridge's own engineers describe the rock they want to drill through, they call it weak to very weak. Nearly 70% of the proposed tunnel route runs through a heavily fractured, partially collapsed formation that geologists call incompetent, meaning that it cannot reliably support stress without cracking or caving in. At the deepest point of the tunnel, where the pressures are the highest, the proposed path comes within just 30 feet of an ancient riverbed filled with loose, unstable sediment left over from the Mackinac River. And there's methane. Independent tunnel expert Brian O'Mara, with 35 years of experience, says that dissolved methane in the groundwater will seep into any tunnel drilled here. And it's not just during construction, but for the lifetime of the tunnel. It only takes 5% methane concentration in air to create an explosive mixture. We've seen what this means in tunnels before, in Milwaukee and in Port Huron, where workers were killed after an explosion. This plan doesn't just put our Great Lakes in danger, but also the pipe fitters and workers constructing the tunnel. Enbridge has no sealed design to stop that methane. No failure modes analysis was done to account for how one failure triggers the next, like dominoes. And the entire route was assessed with roughly 20 boreholes across 4 miles. Huge gaps of over 1,000 feet between samples. That's not engineering certainty, that is a gamble with 20% of the world's fresh water. Now ask yourself, what happens to my agritourism business? What happens to your restaurant, hotel, boat charter, beer company, and other small businesses if a rupture happens in the Straits of Mackinac? The straits move water in every direction, so a spill there doesn't just stay in one place. It destroys our beaches, our fisheries, and our drinking water intakes. It poisons the brand that drives tourism across the entire upper Midwest. The economic damage from a Line 5 rupture in the straits would be catastrophic and long-lasting. They still haven't cleaned up Enbridge's spill in Kalamazoo. Small businesses don't recover from that. Our rural communities don't recover from that. Which is why what happens next matters so much. Enbridge has now applied for an NPDES permit, a permit that would authorize them to dump billions of gallons of construction wastewater into Lake Michigan. Every single day that the tunnel is under construction, enough water to fill 9 Olympic swimming pools would be discharged into our lake, while up to 2 million gallons per day are withdrawn directly from the Great Lakes. This is not routine paperwork. This is a request to degrade one of the most ecologically sensitive bodies of fresh water on the planet with chemical additives, tunnel slurry, sediment, oil, and grease before anyone has even proven that it won't cause irreparable damage. Governor Whitmer, Director Roos, businesses large and small on behalf of the Great Lakes Business Network are now urging you to deny this permit unless and until Enbridge can prove with full public review and scrutiny that its tunnel construction will not harm Lake Michigan or the Straits of Mackinac. This public comment period is one of our final chances to be heard before EGLE makes one of the most critical decisions that it has ever faced in our state. I am asking everyone here and tuning in today to please submit your comments to EGLE before the end of June. Tell the governor and her administration that Northern Michigan's businesses, our families, and our Great Lakes depend on them to rigorously follow the law and defend our freshwater future. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Beth Wallace.
Thanks, Juliette. Good afternoon. My name is Beth Wallace, and I'm the Great Lakes Climate and Energy Director for the National Wildlife Federation, and I have served on the board of the Pipeline Safety Trust for over 13 years. I have been studying pipelines and Line 5 since the 2010 Enbridge oil spill into the Kalamazoo River, where the community I grew up in was devastated by one of the largest inland oil spills in U.S. history. We are here today with one clear, urgent message for Governor Whitmer and EGLE, and that's that they must reject Enbridge's Line 5 tunnel permit and work to advance an orderly shutdown of Line 5. The tunnel permits now under consideration already violate fundamental protections for the Great Lakes. Enbridge has failed to prove basic feasibility, and the harm to the Great Lakes for this Canadian company is unnecessary. We also know the pipeline is not needed, but Enbridge is blocking every agency from looking seriously at this question. At the same time that Michigan is being forced to consider a half-baked tunnel proposal, Enbridge is actively trying to strip Michigan of its rights to hold oil companies accountable. Enbridge is operating illegally without a valid easement, and now they want to operate without state oversight, with a deliberate legal strategy to keep Line 5 opening indefinitely. They are trying to block Michigan from ever exercising any real authority over Line 5's future. And here's the critical piece that every Michigander needs to understand. Enbridge's federal preemption claims, combined with federal oversight agencies, PHMSA, currently being dismantled, will make our communities less safe, not more. Enbridge is using federal dysfunction to override state law, weaken environmental review, and silence local voices. When Michigan rejects the tunnel, we are not rejecting the energy. We are protecting our future, and one that is not built for foreign oil corporations that have proven time and time again that they put profits over people and over drinking water, tribal rights, and over wildlife. Enbridge is a foreign oil corporation that has already spilled hundreds of thousands of gallons from this particular pipeline. And the tunnel does nothing to eliminate that risk. It simply moves it and buries it and multiplies it. This is no longer only a fight to stop Line 5. It is a fight to protect Great Lakes laws themselves. It is Enbridge. If Enbridge is successful here, they will tear open legal doors that allow future pipeline companies and industry projects to ignore Michigan's protection and Great Lakes laws. That would open Great Lakes up even more for abuse, more spills, and more corporate impunity. Governor Whitmer, EGLE, and state officials, you have the authority, and you have the science, and you have the law. Rejecting the tunnel permit means a promising future. Declaring that Line 5 will shut down in an orderly fashion, in a planned manner, means that we are taking proactive energy steps. We cannot wait until a spill or an emergency for this action to be taken. Do not let Enbridge dismiss our laws alongside with our lakes. Do not let Enbridge dismantle our laws alongside our lakes. Stand with the people of Michigan, and please reject the permits and shut down Line 5. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Beth. And we're going to give folks online just a minute if they have a question for any of our speakers. Put it in the chat, and we'll be able to answer any question that you have if you have one. We'll give you a minute to do that. If you have a question, just put it in the chat. No. Okay, thank you. Thank you, speakers. Appreciate you all being here.